Hey everybody, welcome back to Guys on Sports. We are here today talking about the NFC North.
Yeah.
What are we doing specifically? I'm glad you asked because we are going to be breaking down the entire division. We're going into each position, quarterback, running back. We're covering tight ends, wide receivers. We're giving fantasy relevant advice, but we're also going to be talking about from a bird's eye view, like the lay of the land, what's this going to look like. Stick around for the end because we're going to give you our division predictions as well, telling you who ranks first, second, third, and fourth out of all these teams. No TikTok take today, but continue to comment online at J1 Podcast, currently wherever you browse the internet. We would love to hear from you. We love engaging with you. Shout out to Instagram. It's been popping off recently. We appreciate everyone on Instagram. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know if our takes are good. And I think we're ready to go. Phil?
Is it my turn already?
Yes, sir. So from the NFC North quarterbacks, where are we thinking? Where would you rank these guys? Give us your spin.
Okay, so super straightforward here. I'm not going to waste anybody's time. NFC North is pretty interesting, I think, this year. I think
so too. There's a lot going on here.
I can't really pin. I know everybody's going to favor Detroit. I can't pin who's going to win this division. We'll talk about that later.
Hey.
But it goes in this order for me: Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, and then whatever combination of Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy you choose or the Vikings choose. So Jordan Love is coming off a season where he finished 2 spots ahead of Goff at the end of the year, all while throwing for 400 less yards. Mm-hmm. And that is simply because he has a lot more rushing upside than Goff. I think he rushed for 247 yards. Goff rushed for 21. And I think
Wow.
that is the real separator. But even more so, I do think that as a whole, the wide receiver core for Jordan Love is more talented. It's deeper. And I think their chemistry is going to continue to evolve here. Whereas I think Goff has a nice high-end piece and a great tight end and then a bunch of filler in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, Gibbs is going to do what he does, but, I just don't think the wide receiver core is match up well for Detroit, and I think his ground upside just makes him, a clear choice here. Caleb Williams is a big question mark. I think he's going to be good. Do I think he's going to throw for 30 touchdowns like these two guys did last year or north of 30 and over 4,000 yards in his rookie year? I think it's possible that he gets to the yardage marker because of the talent around him.
Yeah.
I don't know that he throws that many touchdowns. So that's where I see them.
Yeah, I don't know that I would argue any of that. I feel like that's kind of my list too, although I do think that as we get closer to the fantasy season, I might feel different and might draft Caleb Williams much higher because of where I'm able to draft him. So if his ADP is like 7th round and I have to do Jordan Love in the 4th or 5th, maybe I'll come around to Caleb. I do think Caleb is a quarterback with upside to run also.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's going to be interesting. And I do think he's maybe in the best rookie
situation.
Ever.
Yeah.
In recent memory.
Yeah, I think I'd never take a quarterback. I never take a rookie quarterback in redraft fantasy leagues. I just don't like that. You're usually seeing someone that's out of the top 10 for that position. I would take Caleb Williams. I think I usually wait on my tight end. Like if I don't get like the one guy I'm circling for tight end, I'll wait till like round 13 to get the guy that I could, manage with.
Right.
I could see myself doing that with quarterback this year. Like a guy that I do circle this year is Jordan Love. We've talked about Jordan Love on previous episodes. I think he's going to be. He was QB5 last year. That's the expectation again, and I'm okay taking that, especially where his current ADP is. He was kind of the Jalen Hurts of last. Everyone thought like Justin Fields was going to be like the Jalen Hurts of the year. No one wanted to draft Jalen Hurts.
I think somebody in our panel took him as a number 1 quarterback in the league.
Who did?
We were pretty high on
Justin Fields?
Yeah. But
I think if we were, projecting from how he finished the season before, when they let him kind of run wild, he looked like Cam Newton faster.
I guess what I'm trying to say is Jordan Love was the quarterback that people were very low on that performed well. and everyone was kind of circling like Justin Fields instead.
That's fair.
The only thing that I want to say about the ranking is I agree with it. It's Jordan Love, it's Jared Goff, it's Caleb Williams, and then Vikings quarterbacks. But I really wanted to put Jared Goff third. I couldn't find myself doing it because he was the quarterback 7 last year, and I'm like, okay, is that maybe some regression to the mean coming this year? But he did that twice in a row. 284 fantasy points and then 289 fantasy points respectively. There's no drop off with Ben Johnson. So I do think Jared Goff, although it's like boring because he rushed for only 21 yards, is the second best quarterback.
Well, and like I'm looking right now, and if you look at like ESPN, Yahoo, CBS Sleeper, RTS Sports, you're making exactly that choice. You are choosing because Jordan Love's going at 10, the number 10 quarterback, as high as a number 7.
And I think that's great ADP because I think he finishes as a QB5 again.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you look at like Caleb or Goff, they're going in pretty much the exact same spot. I think Caleb goes the highest at 11th quarterback. Goff goes the highest at 12.
Which is great because of those two, if they're going in the same round, I'm taking Caleb Williams just because it's
Upside.
riskier. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can get Jared Goff or a guy like Jared Goff off waivers.
Yeah.
Maybe not QB7, obviously, because I don't want to discredit Goff's fantasy performances over the last 2 years, but you can find something similar.
Well, and the thing is about Goff is how do you, like, I think we've seen what he's been and what his ceiling is. Like, how does he get better?
It's this. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's not a lot of upside there.
Cool. Okay, so that was quarterbacks. We are going to go right into running backs, starting off with Phil. Where do we rank these guys?
Right, so I was just working on my numbers there. I guess I won't get to finish them. It's coming quick. But
Pause.
Regrettably, yeah, chill. Now, earlier in the offseason, I really don't like Jacobs here. So, like, everything is telling me to take him as far as numbers right now. And it's really about role more so than it is my belief in Josh Jacobs. But, you know, I might be having a change of heart on camera right now, guys. I'm gonna stick with Jacobs. All right, so my ranking here is gonna be Jacobs, Gibbs, Devin Montgomery, Aaron Jones, and then DeAndre Swift finishing last. So yes, I do have Montgomery as the
So you've got
running back
two
finishing over
Detroit.
Swift.
Yeah.
My thinking here, and here's the thing I'm worried about with Gibbs, is I think he has to be efficient. Again, an average, whatever absurd amount of yards he was averaging per touch last year, and also cash in on 10 touchdowns. Because he finished the year playing the game more than Montgomery, with 45 less carries and about the same amount. They probably evened each other out in carries. I think, well, touches totally, Montgomery had more if you include his receptions. He was only 7 spots ahead of him. They're both top 20 backs. Montgomery missed time. But if he cashes in half of those touchdowns, he's dropping out of that 10 to 20 range. So I'm worried about that. So I'm counting on him to kind of still have his second year, still be that guy. Montgomery, I think, is going to factor in as much as he did last year, and hopefully he stays healthy. DeAndre Swift, we talked about it a little bit. To me, is just he's kind of in no man's land. I know they gave him some money. They have a lot of guys in that backfield. It's a little crowded. And Aaron Jones is, I think, just on a team that doesn't really have an identity right now. So I think the safe bet is that Jacobs is the guy that has had the most carries, has been the workhorse for every team he's been on or every roster he's been on. And I think he's going to continue to do that because they paid him to do so. And I think just by volume alone, he will be the number 1 back.
Yeah, I can't really argue with any of that. I think Swift, you have to look at it this way. He was drafted by Detroit, ended up in Philadelphia, and now he's with Chicago. He's on his 3rd team. There's an issue here. Maybe we're not seeing it because when you watch him just as like an average fan, he looks like he's the real deal. But the reality is you don't pass up. You don't trade guys. You don't not re-sign guys. that aren't an issue somewhere. So these teams are seeing something in practice, and where we saw it last year is the tush push became a thing because Swift could not get into the end zone. He's a smaller back. I also think that as much as there are reasons to not like Josh Jacobs, where you're drafting Josh compared to where you have to draft Gibbs makes me want to hold out and draft Josh Jacobs.
Yes.
And so that's why, like, to me, I'm going Jacobs. I like you. I had Gibbs. Then I had, let's see, Aaron Jones. And then I had Montgomery. And then Swift was after all of them.
I'm kind of zigging instead of zagging just a little bit. So I've got Aaron Jones, then I've got Josh Jacobs, Gibbs, Monty, and then DeAndre Swift. I'll start with DeAndre Swift first. 25th toughest running back schedule, which adds insult to injury to all the things that we've already mentioned. I'm not loving that, you know. He is a better addition ADP wise because you can get him around like pick 61 compared to like Aaron Jones on like 54. It's not that drastic, but I did want to put DeAndre Swift higher because I was trying to like be a little sneaky with it and think like, oh, like no one's thinking about DeAndre Swift. But yeah, for all those reasons, he's fourth for me. Aaron Jones. I think there's a potential for Aaron Jones to finish as the best fantasy running back in the NFC North. A few things for it. One, Kevin O'Connell gets the chance to finally scheme with a versatile weapon in the backfield again. We saw it a little bit with Dalvin Cook, but he was trying to just make ends meet with who he had. I mean, Cam Akers. You have just whoever was there. Alexander Mattinson at the time. He was 8th in explosive run rate and 10th in yards after contact. So nice. Being 29 and a little bit older for running backs, that's worrisome. Obviously, the Packers replaced him with Josh Jacobs, so they were seeing some of that kind of writing on the wall. But I think those stats right there tell me that you've got at least Aaron Jones for 1 year in redraft. And I think he is very beneficial to a team that needs something. We're talking about how they have no identity. They can be Aaron Jones could be the identity. Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy are definitely going to need to rely on a player that can catch the ball, that can run very well in space, that's explosive. Statistically, Aaron Jones has proven that. And he does have a little bit of help with Justin Jefferson being healthy and TJ Hawkinson kind of like spreading and opening up a defense. I think there's a path for this. I think Aaron Jones could do it, and the ADP is nice.
I love Aaron Jones, the player. I'm just concerned, you know, J.J. McCarthy had the fewest attempts of any quarterback coming out. Now, that's misleading because if you actually tear down the games, he actually led all quarterbacks that came out last year in first half attempts. The reality was Michigan was just had a big enough lead to where they could just turn it over to the running backs.
That plays Aaron Jones' health, though, because, I mean, give the ball to Aaron Jones either by tossing it to him on a little screen or just handing it off to him.
And I think that's what makes Aaron Jones interesting. For some reason, I'm just a little bit nervous about the Minnesota offense.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach, though.
He is.
He has putting together playoff teams that do not deserve to be there in the first place. He is a ex-NFL quarterback. I think, like, offensively, I can trust it. Yeah. I worry about Aaron Jones' health, but I think where you have to take Aaron Jones, it's not risky. So
no, and I think you do have a good point in that the average draft position for him is pretty low or much lower.
It's not like extremely low, but it's low enough to where he is a mouth that will be fed. It's just a matter of can he handle that load. Pause. So yeah. All right, running backs, quarterbacks are completed. We are now moving on to wide receiver, and
I think
this not like the best 4 wide receivers to pick from? So, the floor is yours, Phil.
All right, so I'm going a little chalky here. Amon-Ra is my number 1. DJ Moore, Justin Jefferson, and then Jaden Reed.
Okay.
Amon-Ra finished top 5 in targets last year. I really don't see a lot changing. Jameson Williams doesn't scare me. Laporta was there. I think he's going to eat as well. But they're going to throw the ball a bunch. I mean, he's going to get a bunch of targets again. And to me, at this point in his career, he's getting better. So I like Amon-Ra a lot. DJ Moore, very similar. The only thing that worries me just a little bit about DJ Moore is that joining him is Keenan Allen, who finished 2 spots behind him in fantasy scoring last year and out-targeted him. Yes, he out-targeted him by 14 targets last year. Now, that's going to drastically change for Keenan Allen. I wonder how drastic the change is for Moore. But I'm confident that with the targets that he's going to get this year are going to be from what I would consider a more accurate and better thrower, natural thrower of the ball. I do think they'll find more creative ways to get the ball in his hands. And I think you're going to be able to do that more this year because there's an actual threat on the other side of the field. So I think it's a net positive for him with Keenan Allen coming into town. And I think, DJ Moore is just a guy that we consistently kind of overlook as a top receiver, but he consistently produces no matter who's at quarterback, and that's true of kind of his whole career. Justin Jefferson, I just don't know how it's going to look yet. Jordan Addison had a pretty strong year, so there's competition for targets there. And if TJ Hawkinson is ready to go, he'll eat too. Aaron Jones will eat, but my big worry is the quarterback position for them. And Jaden Reed is a riser. I mean, 94 targets last year. If we could bump that up by another 15, 20, I think he's firmly in place to be the third best wide receiver in the division. And he got some teammates that may have something to say about that, but I do like Jaden Reed here.
Yeah, I think to me, I go back and forth between JJ and Amon as the one here. I'm curious to see how JJ is now that he's not concerned about a contract. That's taken care of. Is that going to make him kind of toe the line and be everything that we think he can be? Unlike you, I think Jameson is somebody who, if he finally breaks out, could take some away from Amon. DJ I love, and I do think that they're going to work DJ in that slot position some this year now that they have Keenan there, which I think could also help him with targets. And Reed, he's 4 only because he's got 3 other competent wide receivers around him.
Yeah, my list is Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson. I'm putting Jaden Reed at 3 and DJ Moore at 4. I think Amon-Ra is like the stud wide receiver right now. I honestly, we're probably not shocked for that. People are probably taking Justin Jefferson over just because it's the name and he is healthy now. Yeah. But I just think he gets like 15 catches a game. Like, it's insane. And then he scores and he has yards. Amon-Ra, that being.
It's really close. Justin Jefferson's going right now at average of 3.5. And Amon's going 4.5. Yeah. So they're living in the same, I
think we're right to have it the other way. I think having St. Brown first is good. Justin Jefferson has to be number 2. The reason I have Jaden Reed over DJ Moore, I do agree with the net positive of Keenan Allen coming into town, because it's always, if someone else comes into town, does that hurt or help? It helps DJ Moore, but I think Jaden Reed being a bona fide wide receiver 1, which is real and going to happen, is more of an advantage than DJ Moore getting help from Keenan Allen. So I think it's the Jaden Reed show. We've been on the Jaden Reed train since the jump. I think they're going to use him. I also think the Packers are a dark horse for the Super Bowl. So
I don't disagree with the Jaden Reed thing at all. I think that situationally, I mean, you hear noise about who's the wide receiver 1 there, but I think it is Jaden Reed.
Yep. They're going to scheme for him.
I do think that DJ Moore, though, is a better player than Jaden Reed. So that's where it balances out for me. Yeah. I just think if I put the ball in each one of these guys' hands 10 times a game, I think I'm going to get more out of DJ Moore.
I'm just thinking from a fan, I agree. I think DJ Moore is a better wide receiver if you were break down everything to the game. But for fantasy, I just think the Packers are hitting a stride right now. Jordan Love is going to be a top 5 quarterback for me, so that means Jaden Reed has to be good, and I think that's going to happen.
And to push back about Justin, and then you could tell me what you're about to tell me. But Justin, I think Amon-Ra, like you said, is the guy right now. And I don't think that Jameson hurts him at all. I think, if anything, he probably takes the top off for him. But I think the chemistry between Goff and Amon-Ra right now is going to override whatever's going on with Jefferson after not playing for a year. He has to get back, and he has to get acclimated to the speed of the game. Does that take a week?
Well, and he
week
has
one,
a
week
new
two.
quarterback, so
And then
that's
he's got to
yeah.
figure out his quarterback.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
fair.
me, they're hitting the ground. Goff and Monrot's going to be like
Well,
15 targets game one again.
the I guess the highest value is DJ Moore, or as you were saying, Jaden Reed. DJ Moore is right now going as a 21st drafted quarterback.
That's crazy.
And Jaden Reed is going as a 34th.
That's great.
Draft Jaden Reed
Yeah.
and DJ Moore if that is where they fall in your drafts. For the love of God.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's so low.
Well, I mean, like I'm looking
look
at
at his
who's going.
numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all the usual suspects: the Puka, Garrett Wilson, Adams, MHJ, Olave, Drake London, Nico Collins, Debo, Brandon Ayuk.
Wait,
Well, here,
wait to
but
draft wide
this
receivers.
is what I don't. This is where you lose me, right? Not you. I'm saying, I'm looking DJ Moore and Puka Nacua right now. I know you love Puka. I like Puka too. 105 receptions last year for Nacua, 96 for DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
They finished about 80 yards apart in yardage, averaged the exact same yards per reception. They're long. He had a longer touchdown than him. The big separator, they're only 2 spots apart with their finishes, is touchdown.
But that was because Chicago wasn't scoring last year.
No, not even. No. DJ Moore had 1 touchdown. Nacua didn't have touchdowns. What the heck? No.
He had 5, I believe.
Yeah, what the hell? Oh, that's rushing. My bad. Yeah. So he had 6. And more outscored him, actually. So, comparatively, they were 30 points apart in fantasy. I think with a Cooper Kupp in town, I think he may not knock Nacua out of a top 7, top 8 receiver conversation, but he'll eat into those 105 receptions.
100%.
Yeah, I think DJ Moore is the pick between the two of those guys.
I don't know why he's so disrespected.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
crazy.
Chicago is disrespected, to be honest.
True.
Yeah.
But you get a Caleb Williams in there who I think is just a quarterback. And I think he's going to be able to get these guys the ball, like, irregardless of him off the field and how we feel about him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definite upgrade for DJ Moore. And probably, I mean, when he played with Cam was that was after the Super Bowl appearance, right? So this might be the best quarterback he's played with.
Yeah. Although, we were looking, or I was looking at win-loss records, and it's just so hard with a rookie quarterback because they can do a lot of things right, but make that rookie mistake or two at the end of the game and cost them the game.
It's true.
So it's like, yeah, he could be the best quarterback, but they thought highly of Justin Fields there too, and it didn't work out. So I do think DJ, though, where you're able to draft him is probably a steal.
Great. All right.
And then,
I did have one more question before we go to tight ends because this is going quick. In this division in particular, there's just a lot of wide receiver debt.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be, so let's take Keenan Allen out of that.
Okay.
Who's the next guy on any of these rosters that you would take, like as a wide receiver? I'll throw names out there. We'll go Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. We'll go Jameson Williams,
Dontavian Wicks,
Jordan Addison,
Romeo Dunze.
and Romeo. Yeah, who's the guy for you?
I'd take Addison. As long as he doesn't get arrested or stay in jail. That's a better way to say that.
I would be tempted to, again,
Are you saying as a
are you
player or
saying-
just next year?
What?
Are you saying as a player or are you saying this upcoming season?
I thought next year I would have to maybe just indefinitely, but definitely next year.
What were you
So you're saying take Keenan Allen out of it, right?
taking it out of it because of the track record, yeah.
I mean, I have looking where I have them statted. I have Addison,
yeah.
and then Romy right there. My issue, and then Jameson next. So this is a very tough choice
That's
for me
why I wanted to ask it.
because I think
There's a lot of them.
yeah, and I've Romy, is that how you pronounce it?
Romy.
He's just stiff.
That's what I said. Who did I say? I said that to Mark.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
It makes me nervous. He makes me nervous. I think on ability, Addison or Jameson look like more fluid wide receivers to me.
You saw it already with Addison.
Yeah. Yeah, Addison's got more proof on paper
For sure.
than the other two. Jameson, I still feel like if they just used him right and let him take the top off, he's a guy that might only have 3 receptions but might have a touchdown every game almost.
Yeah. Randy
I'm
Moss
trying to look for
stats.
Addison's number. But yeah, Dunze's stiff, man. He reminds me of Mike. I feel like Mike Evans is similar to Mike Evans. To me, is a little more fluid
Yeah.
than a Dunze. He reminds me of a guy that comes out with size.
I mean, if you're comparing him to Mike Evans and you're comparing him to a Hall of Fame receiver,
No, I'm just talking about type, archetype, whatever you want to call it. I think he's filled out kind of like him. Mike Evans is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Dunze worries me a little bit.
Addison showed out. He had 108 targets, 70 receptions, 911 yards, and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Now, that changes with JJ.
Yes.
That changes with a new quarterback. Kirk Cousins is, criminally underrated quarterback. Now, he was hurt last year,
slow
too.
White guy. So.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a slow white
with
guy.
no style.
Yeah. Well, he has his own style, but
All right, so for tight end, we're doing it a little bit differently. We're just picking the tight end that we would draft, just the premier tight end of this division. So, Phil, who are we taking?
It's not fair. I know who you're going to take, and I like that guy too. But I'm going to go with T.J. Hockenson.
Mm-hmm.
Last season, T.J. Hockenson, and with the injury, he still somehow managed to catch 9 more balls than Sam Laporta on 7 more targets for more yardage. I think the big separator was touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he scored 5 to Laporta's 10. I think that probably regresses to something closer unless Laporta's just going to be God tight end. I like TJ Hockenson. I'm not sure. Can you look up where his average draft?
yeah, he's 12.5 compared to Laporta, who's number 1. So you're going to have to overdraft.
Every day I'm taking Hockenson.
Yeah.
We're talking about it's really, you're just hoping. You're counting on touchdown regression here. But if you're looking, 12 rounds is kind of crazy.
Yep.
Now, you said he's healthy, he's cleared, or?
They're saying he's they used the word well above schedule.
That's good news.
Yeah. So
I wonder when he's back.
I think Laporta is going to be way overdrafted in just a lot of leagues. It's not. We're not saying he's not going to produce. What we're saying is you're going to have to take him over the likes of even Travis Kelce this year.
It's a classic. You're drafting a guy for what they did last year, not for what you think they're going to do this year.
Yeah, and there's no upside. If you draft him there, he has to do what he did last year to make it even close to being worth it. I do like your idea of drafting TJ, but there's one that I like even more.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, commit, right?
No, surprisingly, I like Luke Musgrave.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and here's why.
Over Tyler Kraft?
So Tucker Kraft tore his pectoral, so he is out, and they're unsure of for how long. And I honestly feel like Luke, when you saw game film, Luke seemed to outplay him. Tucker was just normally the first guy going to. Yeah. So Luke's going to get all of camp, all the preseason to kind of get used to.
And he had some flashes too.
Yeah, he's not a bad tight end, but what I love about him is that you are he's an afterthought. So you can pretty much draft him.
Or just pick him up off waivers.
Now, he only had 6 targets, 34 receptions, 400 yards, and a touchdown. So, you're taking a risk here, but to me, I don't know. I just feel like there's some upside waiting and taking that tight end, unless you're going to get a Kelce or something like that.
Yeah,
it kind of gives me Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews vibes a little bit.
Yeah,
because they both went in the same draft class, but one just ended up panning out more.
Well, people talk about Tucker, but Tucker only had 40 targets, 31 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. So they were really comparable. And I think if Luke is on the field, depending on how long this injury takes to come back,
the deciding factor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch up a little bit from what we talked about before we started recording. And the reason is, do I think Sam Laporta is going to be good? Yes, obviously. We're just talking about this. I'm leaving all my drafts without Sam Laporta because I'm not wasting my second or my third round pick on Sam Laporta. Don't see it. My guy CJ Hockenson for the same reasons I talked about. Enough said on that.
Yeah.
Okay. to put a little bow on this show, thanks for sticking around, by the way. And before you do anything, make sure you go to Chalkboard, click the link at the bio, scan the QR code on screen. It is a totally free fantasy app where you can not only do your daily fantasy through, you can do sports betting, but we also have a forum of over 300 people. We've got people in there asking questions 24/7. We're answering them. We've got cheat sheets. We've got start sits. We've got pick'ems. It's a really cool, beneficial, and just free community that you can be a part of, and it helps the show out. So click the link in the bio, scan the QR code on screen, go to the App Store, download Chalkboard, look for the guys on sports, and we will see you on forums. We like to have conversations with y'all and help you become better at fantasy football. So let's go ahead and just tell us what the divisions are going to look like. Are we going to see the Packers, the Lions, the Bears? Who's winning? We've seen wild cards. Go ahead and rank those guys.
All right, I'll go first. So I have the Packers winning the division this year. I have the Lions coming in second. I have the Bears finishing third. I have the Vikings finishing fourth. I think Jordan Love and that wide receiver core proves to be worth the money that they gave him this offseason. Well, I don't think anybody's worth that much money, but relative to the NFL, I think they'll be worth it. And I think that defense is going to be better than people expect it to be. And I expect a little bit of regression from the Lions from what I think was really a magical kind of season from the opening night. I think they'll be good, and I think they'll make the playoffs, but I think it'll be as a wild card.
Yeah, so I've got the Lions coming in at 12-5, finishing first. Packers at 11-6, so real close. Yeah. I do have the Packers getting to the semifinals and the playoffs, though, and then I have the Bears at 7-10 and the Vikings at 4-13.
Yeah, I think there's a highly
semifinals. That's
yeah,
quarterfinals basketball.
I think there's a high likelihood that 3 teams make the playoffs from this division. I have the Packers winning the division. I have the Packers as a dark horse for the Super Bowl. I've got them with probably like a 12-5 record. I've got the Lions barely making the wild card instead of winning that division. I think it's a dogfight between those guys. I've got the Bears in third place and potentially wild card. They won 7 games last year. They were only the first overall pick because of the Panthers trade. So Caleb Williams, if he's probably good for 1 to 2 more games.
Well, and their defense was stout last year.
So I look for the Bears to be a wild card team, and I've got the Vikings in fourth because that division is a gauntlet, and they're also playing like San Francisco and the Jets pretty early on. So Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings.
Oh my!
And that is the show. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. We will see you on the next episode of Guys on Sports. See you.